All right, don't buy anything for 90 days. That's actually not bad advice. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to do that. I have a tendency, if I see a really, really good deal, I buy it. And nowadays, a really good deal is something that's either going to enhance maybe one of my properties. It's very rarely is it just something selfish that I want, like a piece of clothing or, I'm not into watches. Um, I'm not into splurging on new cars. The only time I buy a new car is if I pay cash for it. And I rarely do that. I rarely buy new cars. I bought this car new, 22 Model 3. I paid cash for it, but I bought that because I'm an investor in Tesla. I believe in the company. I wanted full self-driving, and I am going to drive this car until it falls apart. And my goal is to prove to the world that I can get a lot of mileage out of this car. But I digress. Anyway, the do as I say, not as I do. I'm only doing this video because I thought that the advice in this video for many people wasn't bad advice. Don't buy anything for 90 days. Now, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know your situation. You need to do your own research, get a financial advisor. They cost pennies. I have a financial advisor, even though I do most of my investing myself, but I highly recommend it. Anyway, so this is not financial advice. I'm just a guy on YouTube. But I'm a guy on YouTube who has made a lot of mistakes. And I've put myself in positions that I didn't need to be in. And had I prepared, I would have been much better off. I would have made a lot more money and lost a lot less money. So this person said, don't buy anything for 90 days because there is a lot of uncertainty. Well, they're right about that. There is a lot of uncertainty. Again, nobody knows what's going to happen, but it's okay to be careful. Now, let's look at real estate for a minute. Interest rates are actually going up. Now, that may signal to you that it's time to buy. Well, hold on a second. There is a lot of inventory now coming online. And I know your area, you may attack me in the comments, well, in my area it's dropping, or in my area it's going up, or interest rates are coming down. Every area and every market is different, but the overall general picture is there seems to be a lot of supply coming on the market, in the real estate market. Now that signals that there's a crack in the system, or cracks are starting to form in the system. Now it can take a long time for real estate to go into a correction or to drop in value. It can also take a long time for real estate to skyrocket in value. 2020 was a different animal. There was enormous amounts of money that were injected into the system. That's really what caused inflation. It wasn't the fact that real estate prices just naturally went up. They did in some areas. But it was the stimulus money, the PPP money. That's the money that really drove the market. That's what drove the price of everything up. That's why we had inflation. But be careful in the next 90 days buying a piece of property or buying a house. Because if you're not in a major rush, if your living situation is okay, 90 days is not going to hurt you, I don't believe, either way. There's definitely cracks in the system. So maybe with a purchase of that magnitude, it might not be a bad idea to just hold off. And listen, if you're saving money anyway, in 90 days you'll just have more money. So you may be able to make a bigger down payment or whatever. The other thing is, if interest rates really are going up, what that signals is there's a real problem in the economy. And if they go up really high, real estate sales will practically stop. If they stop, then that will trigger some form of a recession, or maybe just a real estate recession. Prices will at that point then come down. And if that happens, then the government would have to step in and reduce the interest rates in order to re-stimulate the economy. So in that scenario, you would still be better off waiting 90 days. Now, it's the same thing is true with a car. And I'm just using big purchases right now. A car is the same scenario. There's a lot of inventory on cars, both on new cars and on used cars. Even Tesla is having trouble selling cars, and I'm a big fan of Tesla. But I'm not invested in Tesla because they're a car company. But you've seen that in my other videos. I'm not going to get into that in this one. But they're all having trouble selling cars. Many of the automobile companies now, the manufacturers, have dropped interest rates. They're offering 1.9%. Tesla were offering 0% on the Model 3, and they're currently offering 1.99% on the Model Y. That's going to end soon, I think in a couple of weeks. Don't quote me on that. I want to say June 14th, maybe that ends. And they will probably go back to 6% or 7%, whatever, on the new models. Their Cybertruck, I think, is 6 point something, maybe close to 7%. But many of the car companies are dropping the rate. Now, again, if interest rates start to go higher, then the car market will get hurt even worse. I don't, just so you know up front, I don't believe in car payments. I don't like interest. Interest to me is the enemy, unless it's in a piece of real estate, and at my stage of my life, unless it's an income producing piece of real estate. I don't want any interest. I don't want to be paying interest on anything. So anyway, cars is number 2. So again, if you don't need a car desperately within the next 90 days, I wouldn't be in a rush out there to buy one. Now, people are telling me that used cars, or there's good deals on used cars, and again, that's fine unless you're financing it. If you're financing a used car, financing on used cars is much higher than on new cars. So you pay a lot of money. So listen, if you got the cash, there's some deals out there right now, yeah, grab it. Outside of that, if you want a nice car, there's no harm in you waiting 90 days. Many things, I think, are going to balance out and level out within the next 90 days. And again, I don't know. I could be wrong. I just don't think it's a bad idea. You know, we've got the Ukraine-Russia situation, and that just escalated as of yesterday. As you know, Ukraine took out a bunch of their bombers. And I don't think people realize how enormous. Russia is an enormous country. I mean, these planes were taken out in a completely different time zone. And I mean like hours difference in time zone, in time. So the fact that the Ukrainians were able to get those drones, smuggle them all the way into the completely opposite, basically, side of Russia, and blow up these planes, which were essentially unprotected because the Russian government never figured anybody would ever even get remotely close to them. That's a big deal. Now, it's a big win, of course, for Ukraine in the short term, but, you know, Russia are going to retaliate. And I don't know what they're going to do, but I guarantee you, whatever they do will be really, really big. So there's a lot of instability in Russia right now, and Ukraine, and of course in Europe. You know, Europe is in trouble right now. Europe is not doing well. The United States is not doing that well. But Europe is definitely, there's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot of political stuff going on there. There's big battles going on there with immigration, and that's Europe. But then on top of that, you still have a really bad situation in Gaza with the Israelis and the Palestinians and Hamas. That's like a tinderbox, and that could flare up at any time, and we hope it doesn't. We hope all of this stuff ends. And of course, as you know, there's new reporting coming out. Pete Hegseth has said that, basically China entering Taiwan in a military style conflict is pretty much imminent. Like, nobody knows again. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think he is either. But it seems pretty obvious that China are getting ready to do something. China is under pressure right now. The whole tariff thing, that's another thing that's causing, it's first of all, it's putting pressure on China. It's also putting pressure on Europe and Canada and Mexico and all the other countries that we're in this trade war with. Now, I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, tariffs are good or bad. I don't know. The jury's still out on that. Please don't get political in the comments, because I don't care about who's in power or who's where or who's doing what. I certainly have no power over them or their decisions. But there's a lot of stuff. I am, as you know from my videos, I'm a very positive person. I'm still buying Tesla stock. I'm still buying other stocks. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. It's not financial advice. Tesla drops in value, I buy it because I'm a long-term investor. I look at 5 years out, 10 years out, if I'm still around here. And you have to plan for that too, right? But anyway, 90 days pause on your spending is not gonna hurt you. Thanks for watching.